let's go do this podcast. What's going on, Star Wars fan?
Hello there.
We are here live again. I forgot that there was music to that, so I hope this doesn't get jacked up because there's Star Wars music on it. But we are live here at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Derek, Austin, and Nick are all here. Welcome, guys. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Hanging in there. Yeah. I think Nick and I are both in moving mode.
Yeah.
And we both have the Old Republic mode too.
Nice.
Look at that.
Austin,
go. What do you got? There you go.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice. Everybody's got their shirts on. So Derek, yours are on the way. Your new your podcast shirts are on the way. So
ooh, all right.
And actually, so is that a background that you have behind you? Because you're like,
no, I'm
on my couch.
That's his living
actually
room.
in Oga's Cantina right now, having a beverage. I wish. I wish.
That's pretty funny.
You know, I thought it was fitting after talking to Mike about Unreal Engine and stuff. This is not Unreal Engine. This is just my new living room because I have nothing set up yet. But soon I will have some really cool virtual backgrounds.
Nice.
Sweet.
So we're gonna hopefully we'll get Mike to jump on here and the crew from Jabba's Toy Palace and talk to those guys for a little bit. But if you're here, just say hello, jump on the chat. We're gonna talk about some new stuff coming out with Star Wars this week. And let's instead of jumping into Mara Jade, I want to sort of continue that conversation that we were talking about with the Superman actor. I think we've all, at least myself and Austin have, Nick, sounds like you have, seen that he's a huge Star Wars fan, and they did an interview with him, and just talking about what a fan he is, and I liked it as well, Austin, when he was talking about, they were saying, well, would you want to be Superman again, or would you want to be in a Star Wars movie? He's like, well, he's already I guess under contract to do another Star Wars movie, or another Superman movie, but he was like, I would do a Star Wars movie. So it would be pretty cool to see someone like that, get in and have, but sometimes you get stereotyped or you get cast in those roles, so when he comes on, does he look like he's Superman or not, so I think it's interesting that he's a big fan like that. And, so we'll see what happens. What's going on, Mike? We're talking about, Mike. The actor from Superman, real quick about what a Star Wars fan he is.
Nice.
So
welcome,
I'm in the back
Mike.
of a tour bus tonight, so I got to only be on here for a little while, and then Nick's gonna take over. So, but this is Austin is with us as well. Nick's friend, and everybody else. So you're supposed to
don't leave him hanging. Don't leave him hanging, Austin.
You gotta give him Austin. You gotta give him a fist bump. Other way.
There you go.
Other way.
Other way.
There you
go.
Oh, see, that's weird. It's different on my screen. I was doing it the right way on my screen.
It's reversed.
go, Mike. So
all right.
But cool. So everybody's here. Let's jump right in. Again, I know Mikey had talked about some of this yesterday, some of the new stuff that's coming out, and obviously I can't voice my opinion. I just throw up some comments and stuff on yours, but I'm super excited about Mara Jade possibly coming into Canon. I've looked at I've read the comics, read the books, and I think it would be awesome to bring her in. And again, I think also what you were talking about, and some other people, I think, is if you get her and Luke together, and then Luke loses her, that's definitely a good story to lead into the prequels, or the sequels. So I think that's pretty cool that that could possibly happen if we do that, because for some reason, obviously, that we don't know yet, why he's turned into a hermit.
Yeah, it changes the whole story. It's because we just watched Andor. It's always the perfect example. Andor makes Rogue One and the original trilogy so much better. And I think the same thing could happen. Mara Jade obviously is a big part of Luke's story in Legends, but a lot can happen in 25 years, especially in Star Wars. Like, a lot can go down in just a couple of weeks. Like, it's not even a couple of years. Like, we're talking Mara Jade, them getting married, maybe, possibly even having kids. Like, there's a lot that can go down in this time period that would change the way we look at Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy and change the way we look at the sequel trilogy as a whole. So I could not agree with you more. I mean, Mara could be key to getting a lot of great stuff in the future.
Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on that possibly happening? I know you had a couple articles there, and I
Yeah.
think that the same guy that did the article for, I can't think of his name, but was talking about the Kenobi season 2 was the same guy that was that had that article in reference to this. So, what's up, your pal Joe and Steve? Welcome, guys.
Yeah, so it's coming from a pretty reliable source. I mean, the scoopers get stuff wrong all the time, and maybe they get stuff right, then the project get canceled. Like, it's such a hard thing to say whether it's true or not. So I always take everything we talk about when it's not confirmed by Lucasfilm themselves with a giant grain of salt, because usually it either doesn't happen or it happens in a different way or whatever it may be. But when it comes to Mara Jade, it really depends on what John and Dave are up to. Like, they're doing the Heir to the Empire, clearly. Thrawn's the big bad. Like, that's obvious. But it's how close they're going to actually get to Legends, because there's so many different things going on now. Characters like Mando and Boba Fett and Bo-Katan, I guess all the Mandalorians, and even others, Cobb Vanth, the Skeleton Crew, like all these characters, they weren't around for that Legends trilogy. Even, I guess, well, it was before the prequel trilogy was even around. So a lot of characters like Ahsoka Tano and those characters weren't even around either. So it's a completely different story in and of itself. But giving key characters like Thrawn, of course, because he's the main villain, are very important. But other ones can be thrown in there too, like Mara Jade. So do I think it will happen? I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on it, but do I want it to happen? Absolutely. I think it will add so much to Luke's character, and you can tell a great story with Mara too. Because in Legends, Mara dies. Spoiler alert: Mara dies to Jason Solo, which is Leia and Han's child. In the canon version, the same thing could happen. It's just not Jason Solo; it's Ben Solo. Like, if she is there at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple when he Order 66, is it? Like, that would make it so much more interesting.
Yeah, I think also one time we were all talking about this. I think Mike and I got on a rampage about Mara Jade one time, and how big component as how she performs the duties of Hand of the Emperor is that he communicates with her telepathically. And say she's around in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. If Ben Solo can hear, Snoke or Palpatine, ghostly Vader, Mara Jade can certainly hear Palpatine. And, I could see a scenario where Luke has done everything he can for her, but is like, hey, I watched him get vaporized. Like, he's gone. I think you're going nuts. And she just keeps, spiraling a little bit. So I know Ron has said this before, but like, I don't mind Mara Jade coming in and not ending up as good as she was. Like, I don't mind her being kind of bad, and obviously in order to end up with Luke, she has to come around a little bit, but I think that would break Luke even more, rather than her just dying. But
well, we've seen so many characters in Star Wars have that redemption arc, which we see all the time. And specifically people who worked for the Empire and come back around, like blanking on his name, Rampart from Bad Batch, and the one from Rebels, which I can't
Callus.
Callus, yes. Yeah, so you've seen that arc happen before in Star Wars. It's a pretty common one. But to have somebody do that and then fall in love with Luke Skywalker, like, that's the next level. And that's far more intriguing. Like, that would be really, really cool. And going back to what you were saying about Palpatine calling out to them, we just heard in Rise of Skywalker when Kylo Ren gets to Exegol, where he goes, I have been every voice you've ever heard, and it flashes through all the different voices. Actually seeing that, like Anakin getting visions of Padme dying in Revenge of the Sith, seeing Ben Solo young Ben Solo getting visions or premonitions or hearing in his own head Palpatine's voice, getting like these crazy maybe flash forwards to him destroying Luke's Jedi temple, like stuff like that. Seeing that in an animated show or a live action show or whatever it's going to be, that changes everything. Because like going, okay, every voice he's ever heard, sure, maybe Palpatine was talking to him, maybe not, we don't know. But actually seeing that would be so cool and add so much more to the character of Ben Solo. But as you mentioned, Mara could be doing the exact same thing, hearing Palpatine just like she did in Legends.
Yeah, I think Steve made a good point in the comments about all the characters are going to connect up somehow, especially with the map. I fully believe that map came out for a reason, and the timing is perfect. And if you look at, I mean, we've talked about this several times. The placement of things was not known. Now it's connecting things way more than we ever had before.
For those listening, there was a map that came out like last week or 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Of the
I think it was
galaxy.
longer than that. I think it was about a month.
Okay, so it's of like everything we know so far, just a map of the galaxy. And so, like Derek's saying, I mean, there's like stuff at Atten is kind of interestingly placed. I don't remember where, but it's like
it's directly next to Dathomir. Like,
yeah. So like, it seems like not an accident.
It's a shame
that they and then to Mike's point earlier, let's come back to what I'm about to say. I'm just going to drop this in the map conversation. Seems like more and more we get like ricotta, the ricotta space or whatever, not ricotta like the cheese, but we got that on the map too. So I think that was already on the map, but to have them come out with a brand new map and still keep it in there.
Well, we never had like an official canon map. Like the maps we've had before were all just sort of pieced together in Legends. So this was like an actual official one. And the coolest part is they can update it because it's on the website and all that stuff. But yeah, Ricotta Prime being on there was cool too.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Mara Jade. That's one of my a lot of the old Legend stuff I'm not super familiar with, but as an avid sequel, Last Jedi lover, I'm all for something that will strengthen that movie, because I think that movie's already great, but I think from what you've described, something like that can just make that sequel make sense to a lot more people, right? Because I think that's always the biggest gripe people have with, especially The Last Jedi, is Luke's behavior. And giving something to kind of back it up, I think will go a long way. It's kind of the same way with the prequels when they came out. Originally a lot of people had issues with it, and I think the shows and the Clone Wars and all the stuff gave all that background, and people started loving it a lot more. And I think something like that would do that for the sequel movies as well.
Exactly. And when you look at like you said, Luke's character, the problem that people have with The Last Jedi, and I have it a little bit myself too, is just Luke's character, why he ends up that way. Because in the original trilogy, he's quite the opposite. He's the guy who he sees this evil being in Darth Vader, knows it's his father, and thinks he can redeem him. Then come the sequel trilogy, it's pretty much the exact opposite. His nephew has a bad couple dreams, and he turns on him completely. So that's the big issue that I have. However, there's 25 to 30-ish years between Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi. Jedi. But that's a long time. Look at, for example, Anakin in even Attack of the Clones versus Vader in anywhere. It's a completely different character. It's Anakin, who's this nice young lad who's a Jedi Knight, and then it's a guy who's murdering people all over the place. Would have maybe even murdered his own wife, tried to even kill his own master. Like, that's only within a couple years. You're talking 30 years. A lot can happen with Luke. The problem is that we just haven't seen him at his peak. We haven't seen him with the Jedi Temple. We haven't seen him training people. But when we get that, then the end of his story can still make sense. The Force projecting across the galaxy is so cool, and it's a great way to go out. But it's just the lack of a middle for his story that really throws me off. Because I'm not the biggest Last Jedi lover, but I'm definitely not the biggest Last Jedi hater. I think there's a lot of great things in that movie. Special effects wise, it's like really good. But even story wise, I like a lot of it. I love the scene, and people crap on the throne room scene, but I love the throne room scene. I love when they rip the lightsaber apart. I love when he goes, "You're still holding on." Like I quote that all the time. But having said that, I still need a lot more Luke, and I need it now. And Mara Jade, rounding it all back, would be a huge part in that.
Yeah.
So
I think
do you think if I was gonna say if they do something with Luke, and this is maybe like, do you think it has to be something animated, or do they recast a young Luke? I know that's always been a discussion, right? Is like who would play a young Luke, and they always throw people out there. But like what's the best medium to tackle something like that?
I honestly think it's animated. I think personally it's animated, but I know a lot of people would say recast Luke and do all that stuff in live action. When you look at the Clone Wars, it's 7 seasons, and what it did for those characters, what it did for Anakin and Obi-Wan and all the other Jedi at the time, but also introducing new characters, that's what they could do with Luke's Jedi Temple. You could get a connection to all those different younglings that he has or apprentices that he has at the Jedi Temple in Mara Jade and Ben Solo. So when that Order 66 level thing happens with Kylo, we're going to have a great name for it. There's no good name for it. But when that Order 66 level event happens, we'll have a strong connection to the characters that die. Like it'll feel like Order 66 the first time. And so I'm hoping for animation because Clone Wars works great, Rebels works great, Bad Batch works great. But I still hate the idea of recasting Luke. They've already done the deepfakes in live action with the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. They work very well. And the deepfake technology just keeps getting better and better and better. So you can have little bits of Luke in live action, and then you can give him a whole show in animation. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I agree with you because every time, like, look what happened with Solo. Like, it didn't matter how good the actor is going to be, or with Andor. And anytime you recast somebody, there's going to be initial scrutiny that's going to happen. So I would rather see the same thing with either animation or a CGI or whatever for Luke.
Yeah.
I think
it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I would love to see someone cast as her, and I think they did a decent job in Mandalorian bringing Luke back. But again, when we saw Bail Organa and Andor, it was a little bit different. Even though Benjamin did a great job, I would love to see a live action Mara, but. Either way, I'd like to see Mara Jade in there because she is, like I said at the beginning, I've read the books, I've read the comics. I think she'd be a great character, and like you said, Nick, I think it would be cool for her to be bad as well. Go in, do her thing, and then leave, go with Luke, and then turn back to the dark side again, and he just loses it.
Well, and what would break Luke's faith in the Jedi more, her just dying or him not being him like bringing her over and then losing her before she dies? I think losing her and seeing her kind of lose it, and at that point maybe not. We know from what ended up happening in The Rise of Skywalker that he apparently knew Palpatine was back and knew where Exegol was and all that kind of stuff, and was looking for it with Lando.
Yeah.
So I think it would be there's been a lot of good comics with Ochi of Bastoon, the guy with the dagger, all that kind of stuff. I think you could kind of tie that through. But like you guys are saying, I think this would not be, to me, the Mara Jade thing would not be the Clone Wars series level thing. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like we've talked about they haven't done any animation with original characters.
Yeah.
So if they could establish like a little just post, maybe even in the time of Mandoverse animated series where we do a Han, Leia, Luke, Clone Wars style thing for a couple seasons that builds it up a little. And then, whether it's a slight recast or a, some kind of live action thing where we get this Mara Jade, Ben Solo turning, exposition of some kind. I think that'd be the way to do it. I don't think you could do a whole 7-season show of that one way or the other.
I agree with you. Like Mara Jade in and of herself wouldn't make a great show, But
Yeah.
I'm more so saying like Luke's Jedi Temple through the year, and it's not just Luke's Jedi Temple; it's the whole galaxy. The same way the Clone Wars has arcs of no Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's just other things, and it has major arcs like the Mortis Gods. They could do stuff like that, like Luke and Ben go on a mission to do something or whatever, and then you have a whole arc with Leia on Coruscant in the Senate stuff. Like you had Padme episodes in the Senate stuff. You could have stuff like that. So it would be the whole galaxy.
Yeah, I guess more what I'm saying is that for like closer to Return of the Jedi would be the time for animated, and then as we ramp up to these big events that show us the sequels, it'd be cool to get a live action. I wouldn't necessarily mind if, you know, in the live action it centers around somewhere else and we get Luke like we do in The Mandalorian or like we do in Book of Boba Fett, where it's not like, you know, 70% screen time for Luke Skywalker. It's like it hits when it happens, or it hits when the Ben Solo thing happens. But
one thing, like if you go back to the books, like when Palpatine died and she was still the Hand, and she could like feel that all the way from Endor too.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you have a lot of these ties, again, going back to the map with where Endor is on the map, where you've got Batu and you've got Takodana, and then you've even got Morak that's pretty close to there. And I know like she wasn't there, but there's all these ties to that area. And to me, being the parks guy, I always have to bring it up because that's what I do. I'm the parks guy. It just makes more sense that Disney can tie in Galaxy's Edge with her story even more.
Yeah, I mean, they got her lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge right now.
Exactly. It's like they're already building the platform for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think a Timothy Zahn signed Mara Jade lightsaber just sold for like $8,000.
Wow.
That's what I saw on Reddit.
Solid.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. But I think you're right. With that lightsaber coming up, I think they're trying to set something up for this, and I agree with you, Nick and Mike. I think that some sort of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple could be a great series where we touch on different arcs and have a Mara Jade arc, and maybe it comes out in season 4 or 5 or towards the end, you know, because again, then we know what's going on with Palpatine, or we know why Luke is a hermit and such an ass. You know, it's I think that would be a cool way to do it. And I agree with you, unfortunately, because I don't think a live action would be doable with some of the OG characters. I think we're definitely going to have to do animation, but the animation has become so amazing. It's not as bad as it was, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brings people back in, and they're like, oh, this is a cool story. Plus, it looks really good.
Yeah, I also, from what I mean, again, not knowing Mara Jade, this feels like a Dave Filoni project, right? Like it definitely feels like it, and I love Dave Filoni. I'd rather trust him with animation than live action if he's going to do it, right? Like, I mean, he's very good at animation. I think some of his live action episodes he's done has not been as great as others, but so I'd rather, if he's going to do it, if he's going to lead it, then put him in his sweet spot, give him the animation, let him make a big project.
Yeah, my thing with Mara too is when she comes in, especially the Heir to the Empire trilogy, she comes in and it takes a long time for her to come around to Luke Skywalker. She thinks that he killed the Emperor with the help of Vader, so like that's just implanted in her brain, so she hates him and her goal is to kill him. So we could get Mara a long time before we ever see the two of them together. Like Mara Jade could be in Ahsoka season 2, and Luke Skywalker doesn't have to be. Like, she could be established as a character first, fans fall in love with her, and then we get this arc where she falls in love with Luke, or that whole thing happens. So it's not something that has to happen overnight, and it doesn't have to begin with them being already married or already in love or anything like that. Mara Jade can be around as a character for a long time. So if Dave Filoni's going to do this, I mean, Ahsoka season 2 seems like the prime opportunity.
I actually think I agree with you there. I think the prime opportunity is something I've been saying, that one of the next, maybe not the next, but one of the upcoming Tales series is going to be in that time frame.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be the best way to tease starting this process that Austin's talking about of providing a little more backbone to the sequel era, because we barely touched it. There's a lot of good novels around it, but we barely touched it in visual stuff. And I think,
especially if they're going to keep doing movies past it, like I feel like they gotta build up that, so then that can build on the next movies.
Yeah. And the best way to test all these things that we're saying they could do is low stakes Tales of the Resistance, Tales of, whatever it is, to get these original characters that are around. But I mean, what a good way that would be to, maybe think you're about to watch a Tales thing about an original character, but it's 3 episodes on Mara Jade, and that's what brings us in on her, or
that would be cool.
They bring her into Ahsoka, like Mike's saying, and maybe it's one of those Samuel L. Jackson at the end of Marvel movies thing, and we're the only ones who know who she is, and then they pump her through a Tales series, and we get a little more, and then that leads into a show. I think Tales is where it's at for Filoni to kind of test the, how it's going to work, especially with what they were saying about Shadow Lord having this new animation technology or something.
That could be pretty cool.
Could be setting the stage.
Yep. Hey, Derek's going to put up a poll. Everybody that's on here, we got a bunch of people on. Would you want to see Mara Jade come into canon? So yes or no. We're going to put a poll up there. Just let us know what you think. If you have any thoughts on that. Jacob had a good question, but I don't think it's gonna come up in Mandalorian Grogu, the final Mandalorian story. Mike, I don't think this is going to be the final. Do you in this movie?
I mean, I always say they should kill off Din Djarin in the Mandalorian Grogu movie, but no, I don't think it's definitely not the end of the Mandalorian story. I don't think they'll go back to Disney for a season 4, but like Dave Filoni's movie will definitely have them in it. Like Grogu's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah. Grogu makes way too much money for him to not
exactly
to not be hanging around.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got him on retainer.
Yes, yeah.
Right
they got
now
up.
We're unanimous on bringing her into canon. It's 100%. This is by far the closest, or like the most unanimous poll we've ever done.
Had it not been for the Acolyte, it's probably between Plagueis and Mara Jade that people are begging for, like, need to see them on the screen. I would think, like, as far as like who we haven't seen, Darksiders, Revan too. Yeah, I guess
he disappears.
And, hey, I'll throw this in there.
Oh yeah, sure. Come on.
But yeah, I want to.
I want a Malik and Revan. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, I want to touch on the Mandalorian thing, because we've talked about it before. But I feel like Ahsoka is kind of the main vehicle now, because I think Ahsoka is going to be the one that cleanly enters heir to the Empire territory, or already has in a way. So I feel like the Mandalorian as its isolated thing does end with this movie. I don't think that we're never going to see them again, but I feel like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, like these types of stories kind of bolstered the ability to do the Ahsoka show, and Ahsoka is the main vehicle now. And then Ahsoka kind of turns into here you go, guys.
Cal. I mean, everybody knows how I feel about that. So yeah.
Nice. Deception.
Yeah. I actually have, if we can break off real quick on topics. I have a topic specifically for Derek and Austin. If you guys are
boy. Here we
for
go.
it.
I'm ready.
So if you want to pull up your phones, the Star Wars Instagram account this week posted a montage of Cal Kestis.
Oh, I saw it.
And the caption says, "It's time to set you free."
Yeah.
And what's that about? I figured let's talk about it. We've mentioned a couple weeks ago that there might be a little bit of murmuring about new games and that kind of stuff, but I think we have our two resident.
I think the new game is. I think even the actor, he said it basically out, like, flat out not that long ago. That, I mean, it's happening, right? Like, I think they're working on it for sure.
They're working on it right now.
I think the set you free is that it's not just a game anymore. That he is going to be. He's wanted to act. He's wanted to be in the stuff Set him free. Let him do it.
Yeah, it does make me think that like we're gonna get some sort of Cal Kestis stuff soon, or like the game's gonna get a big announcement soon. We don't know how far along that game is. I think the first game came out in 2018. The next one came out in 2022, and that was with the pandemic. So that's 4 years. So was it 2022? No, it's 2023, right?
Yeah,
It's 2023. So that's 5 years with the pandemic. So now, since we're already 2 years out from 2023, so you'd assume it would come out maybe 2027 at the latest, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe they have some sort of news about the game. Maybe they'll give us some sort of thing about the game. Or, as we've all been waiting for, Cal Kestis will come over to live action at some point. So, I mean, that's the
Or
dream.
it's both, because since they're already shooting the game, you might as well have him. You've already got him there. You've already paid him. Let's do some more stuff. And he wants to do it.
Yeah. Well, like,
and a guy that he's too good of an actor to not utilize him in as many places as you can, right? It's like it would just baffle me if they don't, right? Like,
it seems like that's the point of using him in the first place. Just to be able to transition him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks now is how interconnected everything feels. Like we have projects all over the place, but it seems like things are being connected. So Cal Kestis in the Jedi games being connected to the live action Mando stuff makes a lot of sense. But you have Mount Tantus and the Bad Batch probably coming over to the Heir to the Empire stuff in the Mandalorian. We're talking about Mara Jade, and like Nick said, you can give us Mara Jade in live action and then connect it back with the Tales stuff. They did the same thing with season 1 of Ahsoka, where we got Ahsoka season 1, and then we get Tales of the Empire, which gives us more Morgan Elsbeth backstory and stuff like that. So you could get a very similar thing happening there. The Maul Shadow Lord series is going to establish, hopefully, Darth Talon, and will she show up in the Mandoverse? Like all these now different time periods are going to be so interconnected, left and right. And Cal Kestis and Marin, for that matter, because she is a Night Sister, are going to be very important to whatever Thrawn's up to, because it's on Dathomir and it's Night Sisters, and Cal is a Jedi. So, and Luke Skywalker's a Jedi, and so is Ezra. I brought this up on my stream yesterday, and I want to bring it up to you guys. Does it not feel like Ezra Bridger, as soon as he gets back, and after 11 years of being gone, he hears about all the things that happened. He hears that Vader's son killed Vader and killed the Emperor. And then he finds out that that same son, Luke Skywalker, is starting his own Jedi Academy. You don't think his first thing would be to go fly over there and be like, "What's up, Luke? How's it going? I'm Ezra." Like, shouldn't that be a scene in Ahsoka season 2?
Well, wouldn't he be immediately brought by Hera to Leia or something? Like, wouldn't that, like?
Well, he's met Leia before too.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see how that couldn't happen, honestly. Or
exactly. And convincing the Senate, which didn't believe that Thrawn could come back. Well, Ezra's all the convincing they need. He's physically there, so that's plenty of evidence. But to me, I feel like Ezra, of all people, because he trained with Canon in the Jedi, and now you have Jason Syndulla. Ezra's never met Jason Syndulla, right? Because he disappeared before he was born. Right. So that will be awesome. But I feel like he'd just be like, "I'm going to meet Luke Skywalker." Bye. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool setup for that as well. You're going to have so many different stories. We're hoping for Ahsoka, but I think that could be a cool one for him to jump on. And like you were saying before, I think once the whole Mandoverse comes out, whether it's the Mando and Grogu movie or whatever, the more people we can get on the Rebel side to fight against Thrawn is going to be better. So if you have Cal in there and you have the rest of these, whether it's Boba Fett and Ahsoka and all the rest of these characters that they brought into the Mandoverse, you're definitely going to need somebody to help them take down. Again, we're assuming it's the Night Sisters that are there. That's why they're going to Dathomir. That's why they set up the Tales with Asajj. So yeah. I think that obviously is going to come to fruition. And then now you have all these that the Rebels have to fight against. So you're going to need some of these hardcore Jedis and Heras and all this to come together to help fight Thrawn.
I also think we're not done in the slightest with seeing how much firepower Thrawn actually has.
We haven't even gotten started.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to, in some capacity, we just named so many people that should, be overpowering against an adversary, but I think Thrawn's going to have quite a bit to work with.
And that kind of, I mean, that also just makes me interested to see what they're going to do with Cal, right? And I mean, because it's going to be the first time they're bringing, just because the way video games work, right? Cal kicks ass, right? Like, I mean, he does some crazy stuff, right? So if you bring him to live action, right? Like, you got to think there's going to be some sort of nerf that happens there. Otherwise, right? It's kind of like when people wanted Starkiller to come to live action, right? It's like, well, dude, I mean, he just pulled a Star Destroyer from this guy. Like, it doesn't really work like that. So it's like, I'd be curious to see what they do with that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always saw Cal on the same level of like Canon, but probably a little bit more powerful than Canon. But the two of them have very similar stories. I mean, Order 66 happens. They're both very, very young. And then they go on and fight the Empire. And honestly, that'd be even cooler because Ezra's master was Kanan, and now he's meeting Cal Kestis in live action. Like, that would be so cool. And it'd be like, there's only a few Jedi at this point that have survived Order 66 that are young enough to fight, I guess, if they're still even alive.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka and Cal, I'm assuming, probably met in passing at some point. Now Ahsoka's in a different galaxy, but seeing those two characters cross paths would be cool as well. Somebody in the chat said, Max Rebo said, Cal and Marin honeymooning on Alderaan? No. As funny as that would be for any character, not Cal and Marin. No.
What a monster. We do have another poll up right now. Is Cal Kestis coming to live action? And we've got a 80-20 split on this. And on the last one, after I said it was unanimous, somebody voted no. So whoever is out there that is just being facetious, I love it. I love the devil's advocate here. But I want you in the chat to tell us why you think, because we're hearing unanimous in the chat, and then somebody's going against it. Let's hear it.
I'll play the devil's advocate for a second. That usually the thing that we really want the most, we just don't get for a while. So I think it's like a yes with an asterisk.
Well, and also, I mean, again, as someone who doesn't necessarily know Mara Jade very well, like, or any of that stuff. Well, I'll use Cal Kestis as an example, right? Like, I want it so bad. I know Cal Kestis. Is it easier to be disappointed with whatever happens?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, you build it up in your head, like we're talking about all these, like, meet Ezra, meet Ahsoka, do all this stuff, and it comes up, he's a cameo for 2 minutes, and you're like, oh, God. That sucked.
Well, they got to live up to expectations. That's their job. I mean, anytime we get like Vader or Obi-Wan, like that's the job. Anytime they do a great job, especially with Vader, where anytime he shows up, he's badass and he's great. But you can't not give us Cal just because you're scared to disappoint. Like that can't be the concern.
And we're also just over a month away from like the Destination D23, which is like the smaller Disney D23 they have like every other year. And they're still hinting at a lot of big reveals. And especially with that, like Mike, you said it about the game or about Star Wars, talking about that, and Cal, could they make an announcement next month?
Yeah. Well, the thing too is there's no celebration next year, so there's going to be no announcements next year, so they got to make their announcements somewhere, and D23 usually is that place. So maybe
I would also throw this in there for Cal Kestis as a feather in his cap. He has a little more to offer than the rest of our survivor characters, because Kanan Jarrus did not continue on seeking Jedi stuff. He kind of like went rogue and also didn't really continue with it. And for all these other people that we meet, like Cal Kestis in this game, the whole point is like seeking knowledge, trying to figure out, he finds out about, Tanalor, all this stuff. He has more. Bringing him in is not just for a cameo. There's a more expansive opportunity with Cal Kestis in what he's been up to that differs from the people we've seen. Even Ezra, like Ezra adds to the situation because of the Thrawn situation, because of the
Yeah.
Peridia situation, because we know him from Rebels. But in terms of expanding beyond what we're already getting, Cal offers more than we're probably used to. He offers, if you're just going to throw, let's say Kanan didn't die, throw Kanan in there, he adds to what we're already experiencing. Cal Kestis is kind of a wide open book here of like what he offers to the situation. So you kind of have to be careful. Like, you don't want to just throw it in there just to be a cameo. There's a lot of, someone commented in here that there's so much that could be told with him simply based on like what he's been doing that differs from all these other characters that survived and, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and honestly, the third game could change all of this. Like, we don't know what the plot of that third game is. It could be something crazy that has to maybe do with the stuff that's going on in The Mandalorian. Maybe there's something that Cal has some sort of connection with Thrawn or something. Like, we don't even know. It could have something to do with what's happening.
Maybe Mando will be in the game.
I know. There could be a huge time. There's a time jump between game 1 and game 2.
Yeah, maybe
put Forrest Whitaker in the second game. They'll put anybody in the game.
Yeah, maybe Tanalorr, is just put your tinfoil hats on, everybody. But maybe Tanalorr is like a super expedient way to get to wherever Peridia is, and they can use him for that. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, somebody brought up in the chat too. If we see Cal, they'll have to explain why he wasn't in the original trilogy. That's the same with all these characters. Like, we still don't know where Grogu was. Like, we know who saved him from Order 66. It was Kelleran Beck, but we don't know what happens from there. It's like a whole nother 20 years till we see him. So there's a lot of characters that we don't know where they were during the original trilogy. Even Ahsoka, we got some of an explanation. She was training with Sabine, and then she wasn't. So that's not really helpful. But yeah, Cal Kestis, we got to know where he was during the original trilogy. Same with all these other Rebels crew members. But that's the same question we have to have when it comes to the sequel trilogy too. As Austin was saying earlier, there's not a lot of foundation for the sequel trilogy. The time period before it, there's nothing. So all those characters that could be alive, Ezra's certainly young enough, Sabine is certainly young enough, Ahsoka's species as a Force user can live up to 200. She could survive that long. There's plenty of characters, Grogu of course, that could be around during the sequel trilogy that aren't in the sequel trilogy. There's not a single Mandalorian. So what's up with the Mandalorians? Like, all that stuff is the same argument. Like, where were all these characters during the original trilogy? Well, where are they going to be during the sequels? That's what's really, really cool. So that's not the big issue of bringing him over to live action. So, I mean, they can explain it, and that's probably what the third game is going to explain. Cal's going to be pretty busy doing whatever he's doing, and hopefully it's during the events of the original trilogy. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
In response to this question from the Max Rebo Experience, great band. I agree. I think Luke doing his temple is a lot more quiet than, say, myself, Mike, and Austin experienced as kids with the prequels.
Yeah.
Where the Jedi were the center of the freaking universe and they have the biggest temple on the planet and whatever. I think what Luke's doing is going to be almost impossible to find. Nobody really is in on it except his circle.
Yeah.
And so are people like Ezra or Cal or something, like, they got stuff to do. They might not be, and maybe like, mission accomplished for Cal. His whole point is to make sure Jedi are safe, and they finally are. And he goes, all right, I'm going to go keep exploring, or he has a different purpose somewhere.
Well, even during the height of the Jedi, like some Jedi were never on Coruscant. They had outposts in the galaxy. Like, it could be something like that, where Ezra's maybe training Jason off in the galaxy somewhere or whatever. Maybe Marin and Cal have retired. We don't know. But I agree with you that Luke's Jedi Temple was probably very small. I mean, when we see it get destroyed in the sequels, or we see the wreckage of it, it's still that little hut, or a couple huts at that point. A couple huts on Ossus, or whatever the planet's called. It's a secluded planet, a sort of foresty planet, and it's not that big of a Jedi temple by any means. So yeah, I think it is going to be a very exclusive, high-end place to be a member of.
Max Rebo Experience, you're killing me.
Everybody's retiring to Alderaan. Well,
no one's going to Alderaan.
You can't. It's gone now. Yeah. At this point,
He
it's gone.
retired to Hosnian Prime.
Yes. Even better. Even better.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to get ready to jump off here. Thanks everybody for being on. Continue on what you're doing. I'm gonna keep listening, but I do want to make one announcement. We do have a special interview next week, and it should be coming out in 2 weeks. So please stay tuned to that. I'm gonna give you a little hint. Whoops, and see who we are going to be
Was that Cal
interviewing.
Kestis?
Yeah.
Alderon.
I wish it was
I'm
him
gonna work
too.
on that. I'm gonna make something
Right.
happen.
So, but thanks everybody for jumping on. Mike, Austin, we'll see you guys hopefully sometime soon. Nick and Derek, I'll leave you guys with it, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again. May the force
Thanks,
be with
Ron.
you, and
See you, Rob.
I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Ron.
See you.
Have fun.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And then there were 4.
So, what do we think Alderanian wine tastes like? A little burnt.
Well, give me a second, and I'll go find out. I've got DJ Rex up there spinning some hits, so I can go ask Oga.
Little
It's-
burnt, no?
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
A
vintage
little
now.
burnt.
Whatever's left of it is worth quite a bit.
It's very smoky.
A little warm.
It's barrel aged.
Literally. All right. So we got 18 people. One of our biggest ones in a while.
Wow.
Thank you for joining us, Earthy. God, he's
Earthy.
on
right
top.
on it. Just hit after hit. The Max Revo.
Hey, Max Revo, I mean, you must be tasting pretty earthy too. Didn't you blow up in the Book of Boba Fett?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, shoot.
hey.
Is he in there?
He snuck out the back door.
So, as Ron mentioned, we have an interview next week that'll be pretty cool. Trying to get a couple lined up. I'm going to take a second to highlight Derek, if you could again put their link in there, Jabba's Toy Palace.
Yeah.
They're friends of the show. Pretty self-explanatory when you go to their website. They got very cool lightsabers and they make them themselves. It's a pretty cool operation. They go around the country selling them at conventions, and they're pretty sick. So check that out. But anyway, I'd like to return for a second to bolstering the sequels a little bit and go all the way back to the beginning. Because I am gonna stick up for sequel Luke for a second. Because I do like the distinction between Luke Skywalker as a human being and Luke Skywalker as a Jedi legend. That's kind of prompted in those discussions. And I think Luke Skywalker as a human being is incredibly consistent with the originals, being very impulsive, moody, very much like the worst sides of his father. And I think if there was something emotionally deep enough to shake him, his humanity could absolutely take over and kind of rip him apart. Now, I don't know what we'll need to see for that to be, to kind of vindicate it. But I think, assuming that a 24 or 25-year-old, whatever he is in Return of the Jedi, is just exonerated from bad decisions after one good one is probably not a very human story. So
No,
I will say that not just the Jedi side of him, but the human side would be very affected if Mara Jade gets brought into canon.
Exactly. And that's the key, is something big has to happen for him, because we see Luke in different sort of places now. We see him in the Battlefront 2 campaign. We see him in Mandalorian in Book of Boba Fett, and he is that Luke Skywalker that people were looking for.
Mhm.
And I think we'll get a lot more of that, but there has to be this big altering event. Think about how huge Order 66 is. Like, we've seen so many different iterations of Order 66 because it affects so many different people in so many different ways. That's what Ben Solo does to Luke specifically. Like, he kills all the people that he's been training, destroys all the things that he's been working on for the last 20 plus years. Like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Add in that his wife might be involved in all that. Add in that Palpatine might be in his head or her head or Ben Solo's head. All that is enough for him to go into hiding, become the old hermit on Octu, and cut himself off from the Force, especially because if Palpatine's getting in his head too, like putting visions in his head, because some people believe that those visions of Padme dying or his mom dying in the prequel trilogy for Anakin, those were placed there by Palpatine. Some people think that his mom died because of Palpatine, because the Tusken Raiders. Isn't there a legend story that says that
There's a legend story that Dooku
yeah.
hired him. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things where Palpatine is messing with Anakin. You got to assume that Palpatine's going to be messing with Luke too. And
I can't with this chat.
and it would warrant Luke Skywalker to go into hiding. That's all I had to say.
Oh my gosh,
there
y'all
has
are
to be
great.
something huge to get him there, but something huge could definitely happen.
Mm-hmm. There could be a part of this too. Again, like the reason we're doing this, I'm not going to continue on what I'm about to say, but it's because of these sort of Abrams-esque mystery boxes that are very popular in his work that we now have 10 to 15 years of trying to figure them out. But like, isn't it likely that if Palpatine's in his head, he could have seen all kinds of things similar to Empire Strikes Back, of seeing everyone he loves die, all this kind of stuff. So he just gets out of there because he assumes it might have already been happening. Like, what else can I do? It's all my fault. If I, the one thing I will agree on with the Luke's behavior thing is that the one thing that doesn't match up is that he's typically really impulsive in the original trilogy with people he cares about. So I would think there'd be some kind of devastation that would lead him to not like go see Leia or go see, maybe he just can't face her because he just lost her son. Like, I don't know, but at least being able to see that, I think, would hammer it home a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, somebody just said in the chat, no, that's not true. Anakin had those nightmares himself, but Palpatine used them to manipulate him. That is true, but we learn in The Rise of Skywalker that Palpatine has the ability to speak across the galaxy into somebody's head. Like, that's what he says to Kylo Ren. He's like, "You've been, every voice you've heard, that's been me. That's me from all the way over here in the unknown regions. I've been reaching out to you from across the galaxy." So, if that's possible, then think of younger, more prime, I guess, Palpatine, like what he could be doing to Anakin that we don't know about. Like,
well, even consider the fact that he's so in the chosen one's head that he knows what dreams he had. Like, that alone, even if Anakin had them himself,
even if
that alone is a pretty big deal.
Even if he didn't place them there himself, he knew what he was dreaming about. That's just creepy. And powerful.
It's like Santa Claus.
Yes. He's always watching.
Yeah. There's a word for that.
Is Palpatine Santa Claus?
All right. Let's see who we got. Pam Hill is here. Hello, Pam.
What's up, Pam?
We still got your pal Joe. We still have Jacob in here. Jacob left that great comment. Yep. Max Rebo Experience still here spinning.
Yep.
And we got 20 more of you.
Now all of you guys will appreciate this. So I have a young man. So I run a nonprofit teen center, and I have a young man in there that is a massive Star Wars fan. And so he's like 3D printed all these lightsabers and done all this stuff. And as we're talking today, he's watched the prequels and the sequels. And I was talking about the original, and he goes, "I haven't actually seen them."
Whoa,
that's crazy.
And I'm like, "Oh, there's my dog barking." I'm like, what do you mean?" He's like, "No, I've only read all about him and all the books and all and all of the stuff." And so, like, instantly threw on Disney Plus, and we watched New Hope, and his mind was blown. He was like, Can we watch Empire? I'm like, yes, we can. This is what I do for work. This is what I do for a living. I watch Star Wars now.
That's epic.
But it was one of those things where you get a man who his connection is prequels and then the sequels, and then all of the animated series and the books. He doesn't have a connection to the original trilogy. And to give him that connection, it's like bridging all of these generations and these gaps. And it was so cool to see him still love that of where it originally came from.
It's really cool because honestly now, and kids growing up now, their introduction to Star Wars could be anywhere really because of Disney Plus. At the time when I was growing up, or like certain people, you only had what was either on television or you had like the DVD of. So you were either watching the prequels as they came out or you were watching the Clone Wars as it came out. But now you can go on Disney Plus and watch any of it. But if you're going based off of what came out recently, kids growing up now, that might be the case where they're not like a huge Star Wars fan. So they've probably maybe only seen the sequels and that's it. That's the only thing they know of the
And
Star
for
Wars.
him, he's like really into the games. So like he's 3D printed the lightsabers from all of the games. And that's where a lot of his excitement comes from, is actually like jumping into the characters. So he knows what happens in the original series, in the original trilogy. He just had never seen them.
Yeah.
Well, at some point here, we're going to get kids whose first Star Wars experience was the High Republic from the animated young Jedi Adventures show, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be their first Star Wars experience.
Yeah.
My brother just had a kid, and I was babysitting him, and he's only like 6 months old, and so he doesn't retain any of this knowledge. But I was like, oh, what should we put on the TV? I was like, Young Jedi Adventures. I was like, first of all, I haven't seen it yet, but you got to get into Star Wars immediately. And somebody brought up VHS tapes in the chat, which is really funny because I got these a long time ago. These Star Wars original trilogy VHS tapes. They're in this box. I won't take them all out, but that's what it is. It's the original trilogy. Nice. And the funniest part is I don't have a VHS tape play. I have no I have no way to play this. Like
go to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Guys, keep on that. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
Okay.
Chat, I will be back.
Miss you.
Yeah, Max Rebo said it sounds like Broom Boy. Well, and and it's interesting to see how different generations find Star Wars, because his mom and dad, they said they saw the original ones, but they're not big Star Wars fans. But he's like a diehard fan, so I was just like, I was so shocked when he told me that today, because he knows everything. Like if I pop off like a question, he knows it, and it's just one of those things where he's like, well, I don't have Disney Plus, and who has a VHS player anymore? And my parents aren't big fans. But man, he was glued to that TV, and it was great to see how well they still hold up.
Yeah. And
he kept saying, he's like, what CGI was this? Like, why was it so good? I'm like, this started CGI. This is ILM, man.
That's called a really small ship that they were flying through the.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
Go ahead.
No, it's funny because you see all these like over the last couple of days. You've seen, I've seen, I guess. They're doing the Harry Potter reboots, and so they just showed the kid who's playing Harry Potter and all this stuff. And the reboot and Superman just came out and all this stuff. When it comes to Star Wars, they're never going to reboot this. So the stuff that happens in 1977, it holds up today, but it's going to have to hold up for the next 50 years, which it will. But I'm just saying, there's not going to be a reboot. There's not going to be a next A New Hope remake. So that's never going to happen. So yeah, that has to hold up. And thankfully, because George Lucas is a genius and ILM is great, it does hold up.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to what we kind of talked about it right at the beginning, just about how, prequels weren't loved right away, and now they've come to be beloved because I think of nostalgia is a big part of that. And I mean, I'm part of that era, right? Like I think I watched the prequels before anything, I watched the originals, and I think it'll be interesting to see in 10 years or so when these kids that probably maybe the first thing they watched was Force Awakens and Last Jedi. How is the perception of these series of movies going to change as we keep going forward? And like the originals are always going to be there. I think those are always going to be like even people that weren't born. I mean, I have nostalgia for them. I wasn't even alive yet, right? Like, I mean, so I think that'll always be there, but it'll be interesting to see as we keep going.
No, yes. You're absolutely right. Cause like you're going to have in the future kids who I guess they don't look back at the original trilogy or prequel trilogy for us, I guess, as a nostalgic thing. Like that's going to just be something that they watched along the way, I guess. And the nostalgia for them could be the sequel trilogy. Like it could be just almost backwards for us.
Max Rebo just said that I feel bad for the kids. Their first experience was Resistance. Here's the thing with that, though. Again, me being the park guy, I have seen hundreds of kids who, especially girls, where they go into the parks, they have no desire to know anything about Star Wars, and then they ride Star Tours, and then they do Rise of the Resistance, and then they do Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, and they see this world, and they get excited about it, and they see this girl walking around, and then they see Rey, it's Rey, and they see these characters, and that's how they become a part of it. And whether we love them or not, Austin just said it. We didn't love the prequels when they came out, and now I love the prequels. Like I can't get enough. I say this now. I love Phantom Menace. There's problems with it, but I absolutely love Phantom Menace.
Yeah, well, it's funny because now it seems like if something new comes out in Star Wars, it's like give it 10 years, give it 15 years, and then we'll see how it really is. Because the instant reaction is either holy crap, this is really, really great, or this is the worst thing to ever happen. And of course, that happened with the prequel trilogy, and that happens over and over and over again. So give it 10 years. That's sort of the new thing when it comes to Star Wars. But the prequel trilogy is the prime example of that because it got so much hate, and now it's so unbelievably beloved. It's like complete 180.
I feel you, Max Rebo. Did you guys ever watch Resistance, the show?
I did.
Oh no.
Yeah.
See that's
I get that.
I thought he was talking about like Rise of Resistance in the parks. Yeah. Sorry, Max Rebo. So, actually, no, I'm not sorry, Max Rebo. You've been causing.
You've been a menace. No, I'd actually think that, Derek, what you said stands because when you're a kid, you don't sit around critiquing and dissecting a show. It means something to you based on the fact that you saw it and made you excited. So we're just really lucky. Like I feel really lucky that the first animated series I saw was the original Clone Wars, the cartoon one made by the guy who made Samurai Jack, where like you have almost no dialogue and it's just cool.
My first animated Star Wars was the Christmas special.
Yeah, we don't talk about that on here. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, we do. It was glorious.
Okay. Is it true that they scrubbed that for a while from the internet?
They tried to.
You couldn't.
They're still actively working.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I also think, just thinking back to when I was young watching the prequels, right? I think another big part that's going to impact a lot of this going forward is just the internet, social media, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like going back, like watching the prequels when I was young, I assumed everyone loved them. I had no reason to think that wasn't the case, right? And I think that'd be my biggest fear going forward is that, kids, like younger people start watching like newer stuff and they like it. And people are on social media at such a young age now, they're going to start seeing negative stuff right away. And it's just going to, it's just going to like kind of twist your mind a little bit, whether you mean it to or not,
it absolutely
just how delusional not delusional, but I was like, everyone loves Jar Jar Binks. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right because when those came out, like there were thousands of people waiting to watch those movies and we didn't have the internet like we do now. So like for me, I didn't realize that people didn't like them until probably 5 years later. Then it started to come out and I was like, well, I already liked them. I had all the action figures. I loved them. And it's just so different. But I will say the difference with the sequels is I was older, obviously. And I walked out of the movie theater. I remember going with my cousin and my wife, and I was like, that wasn't good, right? Like it looked good, but it wasn't good, right? And my cousin was like, man, I feel like it should have been good. And I'm like, was it good? And my wife's like, no. It was just one of those things where like, Mike, you've hit on this where the visual was so incredible.
Yeah.
Where I was like, in the moment, I was in it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in it. It took the dissecting of the story for me to be like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was pretty entertained.
Honestly, I could not agree with that more. When I watched all the sequel trilogy movies specifically too, they were like a blast. Like if I had the channel back then, I would have probably made a video being like, this movie is awesome. And I fully support that too, because it was. And at the time I had a blast, especially The Force Awakens. I mean, come on. But
Force Awakens was a good movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think
it was a great movie. But even the other two, like I had, and I know The Last Jedi, as Austin says, he's a big Last Jedi guy. Even when I watched, there you go. Both of those movies I watched, and I had a fun time watching them. Like they're just Star Wars movies, and you just put them on, and you just have a blast. But yeah, once you sort of start to dissect the story a little bit, it becomes. But even still, going back to Resistance for a second, I didn't watch it for the longest time. Whenever a new show came out, I'd do my ranking of all Star Wars shows, and I'd always put Resistance at D tier, and I just would call it a day, even though I'd never seen it. So finally, I got convinced enough to watch it, and I watched it for a young. It's more so geared towards younger kids, I would say, not like Young Jedi Adventures, but probably in between that and the Clone Wars. There's not much going on in this show. It's only 2 seasons. Not much story-wise going on, but it is just a fun sort of mission of the week type thing with sequel characters. Like Poe Dameron's in a bunch of episodes. Kylo Ren comes in for a little bit. Hux is in it. Phasma's in it. So it's not the greatest thing to ever grace the screen, but it's not like, I guess it's not FD tier where I put it all the time. I mean, it's probably still D tier, but it's not the worst thing ever. I'll put it that way. And going back to what Austin was saying earlier, about how at the time you just didn't know how bad things were because social media wasn't really a big thing. I wonder if, like today, what would and wouldn't be made or would and wouldn't be canceled or whatever. Like, look at The Acolyte. If the internet didn't exist, we would have already gotten The Acolyte season 2 by now.
Absolutely.
Like they would have just continued the story that they started.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people wouldn't have hated The Acolyte if the internet didn't exist.
Well, that's a big thing too. Is you go on the internet, you see all these negative things, and you can't. It affects you. Like,
yeah,
there's no way it can't. Like you see everybody else hating this, and you're like, wait, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is bad. And then obviously you find people that are still saying that it's good, and you have arguments online all the time. But it is a very hard thing to go online, especially talking about Star Wars, having a conversation or argument, I guess, online, and then not coming out of that with a more negative look on whatever you were talking about. Like it's very hard to do that on the internet now.
I think for me, like, what's that?
Nope, nothing.
Oh, I was gonna say for me, like, I don't get in a lot of Star Wars arguments because people like know I feel how I feel, and they're like, oh. Yeah. Dude's got sleeve tattoos of Star Wars. Like he's gonna know what he's gonna know. So I feel like people don't really force their opinion on me too much, and I love that. But that's why I also love like coming on this show, because I feel like we all have our things we love and we don't love, but at the end of the day, we're all excited that we're getting content.
Exactly.
And that's where I will stop. Where I'm like, if people just start poo-pooing on everything, and I'm like, then just go watch Marvel or like watch anything else. If you hate it that much, well, they're ruining this. Just stop.
It's really crazy to me, the people who like spend so much time of their day just purposely crapping on other people for liking something.
Yep.
It's like, really?
I've got a story time on this topic, which is that Austin and I were best friends. We met in college, and right around the time of the announcement that Star Wars was back. So my freshman year of college, which would have been Austin's sophomore year of college, was the Force Awakens teaser trailer. And then we had a whole year of, I'm sure you guys remember, just endless speculation that was almost all wrong. Like just
except for I remember the video that Rey was Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching
that
someone
was
making
Star Wars
that video.
theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
one of my just very quickly, one of my friends walking out of the Force Awakens said Rey's going to be Palpatine, and I was like, "You're crazy." And then
and here we are.
here we are.
But I remember specifically when it was The Last Jedi that came out, and we went right away. You know, I feel like they had just started around those couple of years, showing a movie premiere on a Thursday evening.
Yeah,
You know, like where it's not actually Friday, it's the Thursday evening. So we went at, I want to say like 7 p.m. on Thursday. Is that right, Austin?
Mhm.
We went twice in a row because that was kind of our routine. And we saw Rogue One on a special screening a week early, maybe 2 weeks early.
Oh,
And
I think it was wasn't. I think it was a day before, but
I thought
anyway,
it was at least a
early.
week because we had to sign
Yeah.
something.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, being like we wanted to see as many times as we could right away and like kind of get the feel for it.
yeah.
And I'll never forget, like, Force Awakens didn't really have this. Rogue One didn't at all have this. But when The Last Jedi came out, there was more critiquing toward me and Austin, people we were around, from people who hadn't seen it than people who did. Because it was the first time it happened. So like everyone can say they hated The Force Awakens right away. That's not what it felt like at the time. Force Awakens was like, okay, at worst it was like, okay, that was derivative, but we're back. Star Wars is back.
Yeah.
People loved Rogue One. When The Last Jedi happened, there was this sort of like fully formed opinion of like almost like not being confident in your own taste and not being confident in experiencing it and coming up with your own thing. Because I recall getting literally like from people we knew in the middle of the student center, like, are you serious? You like that? And they literally had not seen it yet. And that was kind of the start of this weird, it changes the way you take it in. And I can't count. It seems infinite at this point over the last 7 years or 8 years, however long it's been, how many qualms people have with that movie that are directly answered in the movie or like directly like figured like as if they never saw it or watched it when they were already mad about it and barely paid attention and just said,
that's how Acolyte is.
You are so spot on right now.
It is.
Yeah, so
that's and I was going to bring that up because we have like Mike Sadler said Acolyte's pretty good and Galaxy 23 Acolyte was great, but then Dogzilla said what made the Acolyte any good, or tell me what made the Acolyte any good. And here's my thing with that. I kind of started to fall into the Acolyte's not good when Acolyte came out. And we don't do politics on here, but the political climate really played an effect into that show.
Yeah.
And the people probably should have stayed a little bit quiet on how they felt about things if they wanted the show to succeed. But like when it didn't get a second season, I was kind of like, yeah, I get that. Even though I liked, especially the last 4 episodes, I thought were stellar. But here's the thing. If Acolyte came out today, like today, Acolyte launches right now, it would get a second season. Mark my words, it would absolutely get a second season without a doubt.
I agree with that. I honestly think the reason it didn't get a second season is because of the interviews. Like the show in and of itself, the content that we see on the screen, it's very hard to even say crazy things, but I'll try. It's unbelievably good, and to say, well, let me tie it back to what Nick was saying. The Acolyte you see more than anything, like you said with the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi crawled so that the Acolyte could run. You see so much of people online going, "I hate the Acolyte," and for one reason or another, that, like you just mentioned, is explained in the show. So many of the things, like it retcons the canon of Star Wars. No, it doesn't. And not only that, The argument was it's going to. The entire release schedule of The Acolyte, it was going to break canon. It was going to break canon because this has happened. It was going to break canon. Episode 8 came around, which was the finale, and it never broke canon. So that argument is just beyond crazy. But that's what it always was. It was complaints that were right there in front of your face. You just weren't either paying attention or you stopped watching after episode 1. And that was the issue with The Acolyte. A lot of it had to do with the interviews and stuff that actors and actresses and creators said. But the content itself, it's got the best lightsaber duel since Revenge of the Sith. And probably one of the best characters since Revenge of the Sith with Chimere. Ooh. And the first ever Darth Plagueis reintroduction.
And now people are begging for a spinoff. They're like, "Oh, but we really liked this part of it." Then
we want
just say you liked the show.
We want more Chimere and Plagueis and Yoda. Oh, so you want the second season that they were setting up at the end of season 1? Yeah, but don't call it The Acolyte.
I think a lot of things too, like I don't know if you can hear Chewie dreaming behind me. He's barking in his sleep, but I digress. So, like you said, The Last Jedi did things. Part of what made it controversial is it kind of intentionally showed you things on how Star Wars could or should be a little different from time to time, like The Acolyte does. So, for example, I'm going to use the one that everybody kind of claimed at the time. I think it's kind of rounded out now, but the whole Canto Bight thing is like, you go back and look at sort of the theme of The Last Jedi. It's so over the top, in your face, Adventure Time madness that the point is how ridiculous it is. The point is that they hatched this plan, all this stuff, the Star Warsiest mission ever, and it doesn't work. And it took a miracle for anyone to get out of it. And it, to me, like that, oh, that's interesting. That's not how Star Wars is going to be forever, but this is an interesting, set of stories and moments in a movie. But that I'm not looking at that as like Star Wars is done and, destroyed forever. Whereas in The Acolyte, I think one thing too, stylistically, The Acolyte went old kung fu movie type thing, which is cool. Like, if you've never seen those movies, or like, even, this is a stretch, but like Kill Bill, like that, those fighting stuff, like the fighting sequences are different. Like, it's a different pace, it's a different style, and I think it's cool that they did that. And not everything has to look like Revenge of the Sith all the time. Yeah. And I think, we kind of want to like expand the vocabulary of Star Wars in ways that can give us more cool stuff. And it's not always going to be reminiscent of the thing that like really hooks your heart all the time. But it very seldom doesn't have a point. Like The Acolyte, I think, makes many points. The Last Jedi makes many points. Yeah. I sincerely don't believe, like, if we're going to be as hateful about this stuff, then I don't feel bad challenging people on that. Like what happened first? Did someone get to you first, or did you like ride a wave that now feels kind of weird? Like,
well, and I think, well, especially with I think we're going to look back, and Last Jedi, for better or for worse, is going to be the most important Star Wars movie ever made. I think it completely changed the course of things because it caused so much division in Star Wars, right? I mean, because like Force Awakens came out, Star Wars is back. Overall, I think the only complaint people had, it's just like A New Hope. But I mean, you couldn't really, wasn't a whole lot to just like hate on, right?
Yeah.
And then Rogue One, also good movie, also relatively played it safe because it went back to the original trilogy, right? Like, it kept people comfortable. Yeah. And then Last Jedi kind of threw everyone through a loop. And I think after that, it'd be interesting to see if The Last Jedi was well received across the board, what would Star Wars look like now? I think it'd look completely different.
Yeah.
I think Solo performed super well. If Last Jedi was good, which means we'd probably get Solo 2, right? Because I think that's why Solo didn't perform well, is because it was too close to the most divisive Star Wars movie. It's just like,
Absolutely.
It's so much changed because
Yeah.
of that movie and how it was received.
The Last Jedi was just barely out of theaters when Solo started going into theaters.
It was
Yeah.
like December to March,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it was
May. It
Yep.
was May of 18.
May. It was May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was May.
Yeah.
You know, Nick brought up the challenge idea. So Ron actually made me do this a little bit where like I already I loved the last 4 episodes of Acolyte, but he was like, I just rewatched it and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, then there was a holiday weekend during the show and they were playing it on Disney Plus, where like you can go on the Disney Plus Star Wars live channel and they just play what they play. And I was like, oh, I'm just like cleaning up around the house and doing things. And it was just on. And I was like, ugh, there could have been anything else on, but I wanted to watch Star Wars. So I just had it on the background.
Yeah.
And as I'm like cleaning my house and doing things around the house, and the first 4 episodes are on, I'm like, wait, I didn't give this a chance. Like I didn't want to like this at first. And then as I watched it, I was like, whoa, I miss this. I miss this. And I started to really like it. And then I just ended up going back and watching the whole thing again. And I was like, yeah, this was, again, like Mike said, we've all said, this was because of really bad PR.
Yeah.
And
I will also throw in there, I'll throw in there the 8-episode thing needs to go away. I've said that too much.
Agree.
I've said that too much on this show, but they get into positions where you have to throw a Hail Mary with the last episode, and it's just you're not going to be able to do that any longer. But that's
I think for certain shows, you don't need to stick to the 8-episode format for every show. Some shows may take eight episodes to tell the story, but maybe you need more, maybe you need less. Because
Kenobi, Acolyte needed more or less.
Honestly, I think the Acolyte works well with 8. I think the Mandalorian could have used less. Could just cut the filler episodes. I think Kenobi could have used less than 6. I think it could have been 3.
Yep.
Andor 12 is great. I think Ahsoka works very well as 8.
I could have used like 15.
Yeah.
I could have used less Acolytes, longer episodes.
Yeah, I think like episode 3 and 4, I think it was, could have been combined. Like this, a few things like that. But I will say, going back to what Derek was just saying, when a show comes out, and it's what we've been talking about here, when a show comes out, you go online and you see all these reactions. And those reactions clearly affect the way you watch the show. When you go back years later and watch the show, it's always, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Oh, this was way better than I thought it was. It's always the case with The Acolyte. It's always the case with the Book of Boba Fett and other shows too. You're always like, oh my God, I forgot that happened. This was awesome. Or like The Mandalorian season 3, Ron was saying a couple weeks ago. He just went back and watched it, and it's way better than he remembered it being. That's what always happens, because when you go back to watch it, you're watching it by yourself with nobody else coming into your head going, oh, this sucked. This was great. This was horrible. You're just watching it by yourself and making your own opinion of it while you're watching it there years later after having seen it before and remembering all that stuff. So I really do think, and as we talk about it now, it's becoming way more evident that online, the internet, the social medias, play a huge part into how people just watch shows. Like, it's just how other people react, how other people feel about something. It affects everybody. So
you could say that on the other side of things, of like, people really love this show and it's absolutely terrible. Like,
true.
I mean, I would love to name a few that I think that, but I'm not going to do that. They have nothing to do with Star Wars, but they're like, oh man, you need to watch this show. And I'm like, this is horrendous. No, it's good. The internet told me it was.
Yeah.
I can say that about Rise of Skywalker. So Austin flew out to where I was living, and we watched Rise of Skywalker again twice that night, and maybe again, didn't we?
Yeah, no, we watched it with your parents again.
Yeah,
after that. We watched it back to back one night, and then the next day.
And so we were given that time, like there was so much like, lore coming out and like trying to connect the dots between all 9 movies and all that kind of stuff. And I think we were both kind of in like a defensive mode because of The Last Jedi. Like, we're giving this we love The Last Jedi. We're giving this a shot.
Yeah.
And when Rise of Skywalker came out, I was like actually kind of shocked at how many of the box, like the Canon boxes that were checked, like things that we had kind of talked about before going into it, at least me and Austin, of like, here's what needs to get wrapped up. Like, here's all these open, and they went through, and it was probably the fastest paced start, almost like Marvel-esque, like fastest paced start. And I was like, wow, I can't believe J.J. Abrams went and pulled that off. And then as time went on, my opinion of it like got pretty cynical.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, in my opinion, to what the great point Austin made, which is that 2017 or the end of 2017 is like the dividing line. It's like the BBY of the Star Wars fan, a date in the Star Wars fandom, because like they reacted. I think it's obvious Lucasfilm reacted to the audience's reaction. And at a time where they really needed investment and trust in this new franchise that they spent $4.5 billion on, they went real safe. And I'm shocked that there were like hate pages out there that hated The Last Jedi and loved The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think it's even close.
And you're also, you said $4.5 billion, but you're also $4.5 billion on films and then 2 parks.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, even more. So
you're looking at like closer to like the $6 to $8 billion investment. Plus, the parks are a forever thing.
Yeah.
Like
they were just starting Disney Plus, so they needed Mandalorian to work.
Now a failed hotel.
Yep. And as Austin pointed out, like what would have happened if they would? We already know that like they might not have scrapped whatever the episode 9 plan was.
Yep.
They might not have done all that. That might have changed everything. But I don't know. So all that to say, it does go the other way where, I was really defensive, and now I just enjoy, because there's a lot of cool, Ron said it all the time, like he loves some of the shots in Rise of Skywalker. And I wouldn't call Ron I don't mean to speak for him. I wouldn't call him the biggest Rise of Skywalker fan, but there's some stuff that like he can attest to, like original trilogy feels that he got that are huge.
He's the most objective that I know.
Yeah.
I'll say the score was incredible too.
Oh, yes.
The music was, I mean, it was one of the best
shot movie. Yeah. Beautifully shot. It was just the storyline.
Well, and I will say this, because we talked about it a lot earlier on in the live stream with Mara Jade and stuff. I think with The Last Jedi, you fix, I hate the word fix because I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. You put more onto the Luke Skywalker falling not to the dark side, falling into the Herbit on Octu. You fix that by making it more of an actual story. You explain it. The same way that The Last Jedi can do that and become a whole lot better, at least in my mind, the same can happen to The Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Palpatine returns, getting explained. Already it's a lot better to me, from just Shadow of the Sith, the book, from the Bad Batch, from the Mandalorian, all this Project Necromancer stuff, the Ochi of Bastoon dagger and how Palpatine came to him and gave it to him to tell him to kill, bring him the granddaughter and kill her parents with the dagger, and then it will show him the way to Exegol. That stuff is awesome. It's not in the movie. It's not in the movie at all. And at the time, it wasn't even around. That book wasn't released. So none of that information was known. So now that I have that information, I'm already watching The Rise of Skywalker like it's a different movie. I already know that Ochi's a way cooler character and how that dagger came to be and stuff. So it's already better for me. But I still think there's a lot of room for improvement for The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. I think both movies, with explanation in this 25-ish time period, year gap, can benefit and become a lot better. Because as Austin was saying at the beginning of this live stream, the foundation for the sequel trilogy is not there. Not because it's impossible to make, just because it's just not there yet. We haven't told the story yet. And I think The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi can be fixed, for lack of a better word, with that story being told.
Yeah, and I think because again, I love The Last Jedi, but also the novelization of The Last Jedi already, yes, I think does not a lot, but it helps with the
Yeah.
movie, right? It's one of those things again. It's like that's all it takes. It's just a little bit more context that we're getting with all the other movies. I mean, we have more context for the prequels than we know what to do with half the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's really all it takes to try to to make those 20th, 30th viewings of the movie hit even better, you know.
Yeah,
If
well,
any-
and
Okay.
oh, sorry. Well, when you look at the sequel trilogy from like sort of just a story perspective, in broad strokes, it sounds awesome. Palpatine returns. Palpatine's granddaughter and Anakin's grandchild are a dyad in the Force. That sounds just plain and simple. That's awesome.
Mhm.
But the execution a little bit is like shaky and all that stuff. The movies bounce back and forth between creators, and it's all sort of but just story-wise, structure-wise, it's really cool to me. Like the things that they do with Rey and Kylo and how they're connected in the Last Jedi, where they touch hands and stuff like that. Like that stuff is really, really cool. That's what you wanted to see from a new trilogy. I just think it still needs the foundation to sort of be.
Well, and I mean, I think everybody knew it, and it's probably come out before too. But I saw like Ryan Johnson just had an interview the other day, and he just basically flat out said that there was no communication between the directors making the movies, right? Like, and it's evident, right?
Yeah.
It's which is also crazy that you have that. And The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi takes place within like hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is there not more communication there is just wild. But
it's so great.
Well,
that's the thing that regardless of how you view George Lucas as a filmmaker overall, I mean, the prequels, it's all him. Right, he knew exactly how everything was going to connect. Like he knew what was going on. That's definitely what is missing.
And people hated it when it happened.
Exactly.
Well, you know, we've talked here of like, oh, this ruined Kathleen Kennedy's career. People were calling for her head. I mean, I was one of them. I was one that was like, she's ruining everything. But then you watch the ILM documentary, and you're like, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have much of anything.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm reevaluating of like, she got put into this position. Like, she's had missteps, whatever, but she's got put into this position of this, the one of the biggest acquisitions. Is it the biggest acquisition in history? I don't know, if not the biggest one of. Where Disney purchases this. Now she's in charge of this end of it, and they've put out more content than anything else. Like, and a few missteps, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have Mandalorian. We wouldn't have so many other things.
I say it all the time.
Yeah, I really dumped on her for a while, and now I'm kind of like, she's not the person anymore. But if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have a lot of what we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I say it all the time. Kathleen Kennedy, it's in the job description, but she gets all the hate and none of the praise. Whenever something good happens in Star Wars, it's because of Tony Gilroy, or it's because of Dave Filoni, or it's because of Jon Favreau. It's never Kathleen Kennedy. But whenever something bad happens, it's immediately Kathleen Kennedy's fault. And that's what she gets for being the president of the company. That's obviously what comes with it. But absolutely, she does not get any of the credit for the good stuff, which is just beyond insane. So I mean, she's without her, none of this happened. Like, we're not sitting here talking about this stuff. Like, it just didn't happen. Like,
like a year ago, if you're like, Kathleen Kennedy is going to take you out to dinner, how do you feel about it? I've been like, no. Now I'm like, that would be really cool. Again, like, but you know, when they announced that she was getting that position, I was all for it. I was, you know, I know her history.
Yeah.
And it's just, Mike, you're right. It's just, when you're the top of the company, you got to take the dumps, and you don't get all the wins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would also say that, you know, like Mike, you were saying, if you take the bullet points of the sequel trilogy, and I'm sure, I don't know, but like, I'm sure you had bullet points coming out of the original trilogy if they were to make the prequel trilogy, like bullet points of like what is supposed to happen. I think everybody would be like, yes, I want to see that.
Yeah.
The issue is something as big and as important to people as this is. We all probably imagine it a little differently, to the point where, you know, depending on how attached you are to that, it's going to rile you up. I also think that the same thing happened, not to get off topic, but with the last season of Game of Thrones. I think if you were to lay out the bullet points of the last season of Game of Thrones in a way that says, like, here's how it's going to happen and why, then you'd be like, oh, let me see it. But then it comes out in a, shorter than you're used to, executed, quicker than you're used to. Like, it wasn't executed in a way that people expected. And now it's like people don't even count it. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you make new stuff. But
well, and I mean, like Game of Thrones with the whole, I remember playing, I forget what, like filling out brackets about who's going to be on the Iron Throne, right? The end of the, like, I mean, it was like you were doing all this stuff. And I think same thing with like The Last Jedi. The big one I remember is all the Snoke theories, right? All the Snoke theories were insane, right? And I think that's again where just the world we live in today, it's whether you mean it to or not, you get all these theories and ideas in your head. And when it doesn't happen that way, I think some people have a hard time accepting it, right? Like because what I had in my head where Snoke is Plagueis was way better than that. So this movie's bad.
Well, we're also go ahead.
I think that's a big part of it too. Because Game of Thrones had its other issues too, but I think that's like everyone's picking who they say is going to be on the Iron Throne at the end, and when it goes with the guy that you weren't expecting, everyone's okay. Well, I guess it's
Dogzilla said prior to Force Awakens, how many expanded universe books did y'all read? Most?
Yeah.
Almost all?
Not all.
None. Well, I mean,
we're nerds here.
Still reading extended universe books to this day, actually. Reading one right now.
And as it pertains to Star Wars also, you're always, I think, in some ways going to revert back to the thing that really hooks you. So for me, maybe for Mike, maybe for Austin, there's a time before Revenge of the Sith in our lives, and there's a time after Revenge of the Sith in our lives. And I think that's true of people in our age group who don't even like Star Wars. I think every male in our age group has seen it, so it's like, you notice how like there's a certain wing of this fandom that like predicates what comes out off of the vibe of Revenge of the Sith and all the lore that came out of Revenge of the Sith and the prequels. Whereas I've noticed a lot of original trilogy people are very much not into the over-explaining. They're not into the like getting nitty gritty with like technicalities and canon. They're very much, because the original trilogy is so good at giving the story with mysticism. And now, like, what's that going to look like with the sequel trilogy? I don't know. But I think, you know what you want to see happen, but these days, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or whatever, but we're not really willing to let that go when we go experience it, like, because it is what it is. You can't do anything about it. That's in a world where you can do anything you want almost all the time. This thing that you love is not necessarily up to you, but it is yours. So like you can choose to make the best of it or the worst of it. But
well, and we in the chat we've got some people saying Rian Johnson. They criticized Rian Johnson, but J.J. Abrams didn't do much better. Like for me personally, I just don't like his Rian Johnson's style. It's not that I think he's bad; it's just not my vibe. But J.J. Abrams has a look. So whether or not the storyline was great, if you watch a video or watch a movie of J.J. Abrams, it's his because it has a certain style and a certain look. Whereas like Rian Johnson going from like Knives Out to Star Wars is very, very different. And to me, that's where it was a miss because I just felt like it wasn't the right choice from day one. But I don't hate that they tried something different.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I don't know, and I think you and I watched it, Nick, but there's like that behind the scenes movie of the making of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That came out with it. And again, as a supporter of it, and also, I mean, I agree with you, Derek, about like how there's I like Rian Johnson's other movies, so it made sense that I was going to be more interested in this one, right? But the one thing I loved about the behind the scenes movie and the making of is that dude loves Star Wars. Like hearing him talk about like everything, and that's where, and I think that helped me change my opinion on it too, is just like he was everything he was doing, he's like, this is why we're doing this, and it's going to rock, and this is why it works. And like it just hearing him kind of talk through it. If you haven't seen, I would definitely recommend watching that, because it's just, even if you don't love the movie, I think it's very interesting just to see how the movies are made. Because it goes into a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, working with producers and like schedule, like all that kind of stuff with the movie. But
well, no,
that's what I love about Star Wars, though, is because like I don't like Rian Johnson's style, but Austin does, and you have a connection to that, and I think that's great. We've got so many movies and so many shows. It's okay that I don't love that one and that style, but the fact that like you have a connection and you think it's really cool makes me kind of want to go watch it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and also in that build up, I don't know, we should name that time frame like 2015 to 2017, or maybe 2014 to 2017. There's such this ramp up of Star Wars being back, Rebels, Force Awakens, Rogue One, tons of books, all that kind of stuff. Austin and I were deep in it. A podcast a night, like watching and trying to figure out what's going to happen, all this kind of stuff. But I feel that I remember a lot of reporters in the Star Wars world talking about how Rian Johnson, because of his style, was tasked with bringing the sequel trilogy into a different direction, like kind of giving, not like Empire, the way Empire was, but the way that Empire did not, you weren't expecting that you end Empire on a very uneasy note. Like they brought him in specifically with his style to have that little notch in the middle of the trilogy that would pull them away from, they gave everybody what they wanted. They gave you basically New Hope 2.0 with new characters. We brought you back in. We gave you what a lot of people's favorite movie is, Rogue One. Yeah. And now we're going to go in a different direction. And that seemed to be reported up until The Last Jedi as why Rian Johnson was being brought in, because at that point, the two movies he was known for were Brick and Looper, right? Not that close to Star Wars. And so to go from J.J. Abrams to him seemed like, okay, so we're going to get something. Anyone who's like plugged in knew you're going to get something different. Yeah. But you didn't know, like, because, and I hate to be this guy, I don't want to get, deplatformed for this, but like the J.J. Abrams mystery box thing is just tough. Like I imagine it's really tough to work with. Like Snoke was cool. Do we know anything about him? Nope. Have fun.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at too. With like, if you watch The Force Awakens and then go into The Last Jedi, like I think there was some bold decisions obviously made, but like specifically around like the Luke stuff, what JJ set up with Luke, that's gonna be that's a tough explanation of why is Luke a hermit, why is he not involved in anything, all this, the First Order's out and about. He's not doing anything. Now, Ryan, good luck explaining, right? Yeah. And I think it's just like, it's kind of it was a tough spot. And again, I love The Force Awakens, but I agree with you, Nick, right? It's kind of, he's a very good setup guy. He's a very good setup guy on stuff. I mean, Lost, and it works. The first couple seasons of Lost are incredible.
I think it works for like cool stuff. Like Star Wars is all about the rule of cool, as they say on the internet now. Like it works for cool stuff, but when it's a part of something enormous, it's hard. It's like a landmine, honestly. Like you don't, when you're making cool stuff, it's like an artistic choice where it's like, that was really cool. And I'm okay with the mysticism of it. But when you now know you're working with characters that people have been identifying with for 40 years, like, it gets it's different.
And there's a hilarious comment from one of my other podcasts, but that's a whole other thing. But what I was going to say with J.J. Abrams is like, you have to believe that they were trying to get a little bit of that Star Trek vibe. And I hate saying this because I'm not a Trekkie, but the style of Star Trek that he shot is the style of Star Wars that he shot. It looks like the same movie. Now, the story's different, but when you look at the cinematography of it, it's the same. It's at least very similar. And that's not a bad thing, because Star Trek was beautiful. It was a beautifully shot movie. But like, you don't have a J.J. Abrams movie, and I love like cinematography. So, but you don't get that light burst, that blue light burst, and that lens flare. That's a J.J. Abrams thing.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking to make a new film, a new Star Wars film, you're trying to get more modern. You're gonna try some things that are gonna be more about a look and a feel. And I think that's why he was there. I don't even think it was more so about the story. I think it was really about the style.
Yeah. Well, I think the point was to bring Star Wars back, right?
Yeah.
And the expectation was that things were going pretty well for the first two, and that like maybe they weren't ready to take it in a different direction. Like maybe The Last Jedi, we just weren't ready for it. Honestly, kind of what Austin was saying earlier. Like down the road, I think history is probably going to be pretty kind to it, especially given our conversation before with it being bolstered with new stuff. But to circle all the way back, Mara Jade could be the linchpin for all of it, like kind of setting this whole thing up. I do want to see more about how, we probably know this, but I think it'd be cool to see why the Resistance exists, because it's actually a very interesting story and like would be very cool to have in an animated show or anything, because the New Republic, like, for example, Mon Mothma like pardons Masameda. Like the New Republic's not about violence. They think everything's great. We see it in The Mandalorian a little bit. And Leia creates the Resistance. It's not that clear that all that happened, even in The Force Awakens or any,
No.
So I think that's a story waiting that could alone kind of bolster, where
like
we're at.
Is it the Bloodlines novel? That
Yes.
Leia one? That's a great book, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that kind of stuff that again feeds into it. But I think
it's
there's
the
a lot
start of
cool
the First
stuff there.
Order, all that stuff.
Basically, we need more political dramas in Star Wars. Like the politics are cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I saw
Well, if there's Star Wars politics,
Yes.
Yes. Again, I kind
Star
of feel
Wars
like that's
political
what kind of
dramas.
messes up the act.
Well, the two memes this year that I've seen is like there's a meme of Patrick Star from SpongeBob with like a huge brain, and it's like my knowledge of Star Wars politics, and then there's another one with a 2x4 nailed to his head saying my knowledge of real world politics, and then there's another one that's like bureaucratic meeting happens in Andor, and it's just like a picture of a guy like sitting up in his chair, because like I felt like every time there was just a little like wordy meeting in Andor, I was like, oh god, give me some more. What are they saying? But
Again,
I'd be for that.
That's a prequel fan thing though, because when the prequels came out, they were like, no politics, this isn't Star Wars.
Taxation on trade routes.
I can understand not loving that part of it. Again, like that kind of, you go from the mysticism of the originals to just right away, like, but I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So, how are we feeling about Mara Jade? Have we come to a conclusion on what did the chat give us some votes one way or the other?
It was unanimous until I think Max Rebo had to.
Oh, we know who it was.
Yeah, we know Max Rebo.
We know.
And if anything, Zyma, you're getting in there too, trying to stir the pot. I love it though. I love that y'all are out there trolling a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, Mara Jade, definitely.
I would think so.
I hope so.
That's
I mean, 2 thumbs way up.
Yeah.
Do we think that comes in the form of a Tales style animation or a
I
live
think as an
action
introduction
cameo?
to Mara Jade, it would be smart, but I also think that Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get if Mara Jade's coming, you're gonna get a lot of her in
Mhm.
Ahsoka season 2, in Tales, in maybe everything. Like, I don't know. We'll see. If she's the Emperor's hand, that will need a lot more explanation because none of that stuff has ever been mentioned. We've had the Inquisitors, we've had Vader, we've had a lot of backstory with that, with Rebels and stuff, but never never that other stuff. So
Per Austin's comment from before, it's like the Snoke theories. It's possible we don't get her at all. I think we should be ready for that.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Let's
I
get my
think
hopes.
Talked about a lot of characters that are probably not going to
Yeah,
come to fruition, but I feel like we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we weren't throwing out some crazy
Yeah.
theories.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
But
because that's when we were like, "Oh, we said it. We're the first ones to say it."
yeah.
well, I
Well,
think we're
Austin-
hitting it on the head that regardless of who it is or how it happens or what it is, there's an event that could bolster this whole thing. And
Yeah.
there's events leading into events that we already know of that would be huge, right? And
Yeah,
that's going to happen. I think we can call that today. But how and who and where and when?
Yeah.
We're at the mercy of information.
Well, Austin was saying this earlier too, and it's absolutely right, and it's what we're doing right now. When we speculate about this stuff and come up with crazy predictions, that's the whole fun of it. People are always like, "Oh, you're ruining it for yourself," because then when this doesn't happen, you'll be like, "Oh, let that." No,
Nope.
whatever happens, I'm still gonna be like, "That was awesome," even though I was wrong. Like, I don't care if I'm wrong. It's just fun to do all these speculations and stuff. So everybody who was wrong about Snoke, because he got sliced in half, everybody that was wrong. Maybe they were let down, maybe not, but I wouldn't be let down. I mean, it's the fun of being a Star Wars fan is doing all these predictions and all this theorizing and stuff.
Well, and exactly like that. You brought it up before. Both of you did. That throne room scene when Snoke gets chopped in half. The theater went nuts, and I bet 70% of that theater went home and said how much it sucked. And it's like that moment was very real. I heard a lot of expletives in the audience of surprise and there was cheering.
Yeah.
But statistically, according to social media, none of them felt that way.
Nope.
So I think if you identify too much with your own theories, it only sets you up for, a bad place. And
Well, I mean,
loving it.
I look back, Nick, you and I mean, we talked about it before, and we in college were theorizing about The Force Awakens every single day, texting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably a little unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were right about probably nothing. And we didn't care. It's like that wasn't the point. Like, but that's one of the reasons why The Force Awakens is also still one of my favorites as well, just because of that. The memory. It was the first time we got to do that.
Right.
Was like spending all that time doing that.
Yeah. And so I'm going to ask you guys a question because I have a little, I've already texted it to Austin months ago, but I have a little like fan fiction about if you were to bring Mara Jade back. And I've already mentioned a little bit now, but I need to know. I don't remember. I feel like at some point, maybe we all got to go watch at some point between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. We were all wondering if the Knights of Ren, like who they were, because I thought there was a line in there that Kylo Ren left with somebody or with people or something. I'm probably wrong. I just remember thinking that, he destroyed it all. And then eventually in the visual dictionary, the dirt that he puts his helmet in front of Rey, it says are the ashes of the Jedi he killed. And so to me, I'm wondering, like, are there lost like students out there? Like, are there, like, did he get everybody? Is this an avenue we could go for Rey? Like there's a million theories you can come up with. but you have to recognize that we still have 5 different shows in the works that lead up to it.
Yeah.
And if you brought in Mara Jade, like, you're kind of flirting with people's expectations that they have a lost child out there somewhere, like, because it's such a heavy part of the expanded universe. So, Mara Jade's not the only can of worms. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's been said in the chat, and Ron said it too. Her lightsabers for sale at Galaxy's Edge. I threw a picture. I don't know if Nick, if you can post that picture up or not.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Let me do it. There you go.
Whoa.
It's obvious that Disney recognizes it. So with them selling it at Galaxy's Edge, it's kind of a fine line. It is something canon. Because Galaxy's Edge is all canon, but the lightsabers might not be. It's weird. There's some gray area, but to me, it feels like they're building up for something.
Yeah, they're teasing something.
I think it's important here that it says a Legends banner, but I believe the New Republic logo is the Canon New Republic logo.
Yep.
So interesting detail there.
So is it like going to be this new morph of like how they make? Yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited.
Can I put up a comment here real quick?
Yeah.
Zima, I don't know the answer to this.
Yes. So this would have come along with season 2. So we hear, undoubtedly and confirmed by Leslie Headland, we hear Kylo Ren's theme, or the Knights of Ren theme, or one or the other, in the Acolyte. That's something that happens, that's canon, that exists. There was a connection, or there is a connection between Chimera and the Knights of Ren. People speculated he could have been the first Knight of Ren, whatever. Maybe that's the case. But there's some sort of connection there, and that would have been explored in season 2. That's pretty much what Leslie Headland said. She was like, yeah, that's a thing. You'll just have to wait. And wait we shall. And wait we will. For a very long time. But that is a connection that does exist. I don't know what it is. Maybe he is the first Knight of Ren. Or maybe he's... Because when the Knights of Ren... I brought up the excerpt from a couple weeks ago, actually. The Knights of Ren are like an ancient group that was brought back by name by these marauders. So like they're just using the name of the Knights of Ren. So maybe Chimera restarts that. I don't really know. But yes, there is a connection there for sure.
And then another Zima comment. I think this type of thing is what you do Tales for.
Yeah, I agree.
You maybe get her as a cameo somewhere implanted into a show on the whatever current timeline we're working with. And then we get a Tales series a la Dooku's arc as to how she gets there and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. But anyway, we're kind of running on 2 hours here, guys. How are we feeling?
Ready for bed.
Yeah, me too.
Nick and I just moved, so I moved into Oga's Cantina, and although on one of the episodes, Mike and I started talking about Unreal Engine, and this is obviously not Unreal Engine, but I may or may not have a new cyclorama wall for my new place that I'm living in. So
that's sick.
Stay tuned for actual Unreal Engine scenes coming up.
Can't wait to see it. Ooh, wait. Here we go. Jacob, by the way, everybody, is our resident comic specialist. So Jacob says, pretty sure it was Luke that stated Kylo left with a handful of other. That's what I thought.
And that was in the movie, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't remember if Luke said, I took him and a group of students and like trained them, or if he said that Kylo left with a handful of students. And I do know that leaving The Force Awakens, the assumption was that the Knights of Ren were people that Kylo Ren, brought with him, because we didn't know anything yet. But I don't know. I don't, recall.
It's time to rewatch the sequels.
I know.
Yep, I'm in. Let's do it.
But regardless, like, who would have stopped now that we have so many Jedi survivors from Order 66, who would have stopped someone from doing the same thing, just getting lost and training a few people? And now you have different, different types of Jedi religions everywhere kind of hidden, and then they feel comfortable to come out. I don't know, or they don't know about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, Mike, like what are the Mandalorians doing?
Yeah.
Don't know, but
Don't know.
It is a big universe.
yeah. Should we do this? I think we tried, Jan, we tried.
I only do Mike's watch parties.
Yeah. we did the Acolyte and it got taken down because we had like some sort of like coded audio slip through.
Oh,
so I don't.
Yeah, I only watch Mike's. So if you want to do a watch party,
yeah,
set something.
It's a lot
up.
of me. It's a lot of me like this.
I love them though. I absolutely love them.
You can't even see the movie. It's just we can only see Mike.
That's really what it is. Because I can't show it, so you guys have to watch it on your own.
Yeah, we'll do that. Mike's probably the best option for watch parties because also Mike doesn't like stop it.
No,
right? Like Mike
he does the time codes of like hit play now.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
that's how I watched every episode of Andor, except for when I was on the cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, which was exhausting that I couldn't watch it for 4 days.
It's brutal.
I remember hitting the group chat and Derek's like, "You guys need to shut up."
I know. I was like, "Guys, I'm porting out as like I ported out at 4 p.m. and I lost cell phone service at 8 p.m. Like, please stop."
What a time. Well, if we have any comments in the chat, I think it'd be nice to hear from you guys on what you'd want to hear us. We love doing this every week, but some things you'd like to hear in the future. It always helps to know that we're giving you what you want to hear, but we're obviously going to be continuing doing this every week. I love it. I hope you guys do. But I think the consensus is we want some Mara Jade, however we can get it. And as always,
that one vote.
And as always, we want some Cal Kestis, I believe, right?
Yeah, don't get me started again.
Yeah, sorry, it's too late for that.
Too late for that.
Yeah,
I need bedtime.
Yeah, so Ron was on earlier. You can always go back and watch these lives retroactively. They just post to YouTube. Really important for us, if I may demonstrate. If nobody knows this yet, you can do one of these. It's really easy, especially if you're watching from YouTube. It's right there, right below your screen. Helps us out a lot. Same with Mike. Go to A Guy That Loves Star Wars on his channel. It's probably embedded in the bottom of this live stream. Yeah.
Max Rebo, you're going to get banned. I love it.
Yeah, what is he saying?
No Mara, no Cal.
Yeah. I think that's a Bob Marley song.
Yeah.
No Mara.
So yeah, anyway, please smash a like, subscribe. Same goes for the Guy Who Loves Star Wars, Mike, right here. When's your next stream, Mike?
Tomorrow, 2 p.m.
Sweet. 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Get there.
Get in there. Yeah.
2 p.m. Eastern.
Or else.
Eastern. Yeah.
Eastern time. Yeah.
Eastern time.
Yep. Tuesdays, Thursday, and Saturday. So I think that's going to be about it, fellas. Anything we want to close with?
I love Star Wars.
Yeah, same.
Second that.
Yeah, we're gonna have some interviews coming up. So we got a big one next week. You're gonna have to rewatch this thing to get a hint on who it is, because we did tease that. So thank you for everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Like I've said before, you could be doing literally anything else, and you chose to hang out with us. So we really appreciate that.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
you really think about it.
I know, right? we can't do it without you. So with that, may the force be with you, and we'll see you next time on Star Wars Jedi Chat. Thanks, guys.